Thank you, Goicea, and thank you everybody who is connected or present in the room for showing interest in SMRs and in the European activities around SMRs. Apologies for not being able to be with you in Portorož. It would be a pleasure to prolong a bit the summer. Now it's raining in Brussels and Luxembourg, so I would have loved to be with you. I hope it's still a nice late summer in Portorož. Nevertheless, it's a great opportunity to address you. Nevertheless, and with Andrei, we will try to give you a little bit of a let's say 101 on the SMR Industrial Alliance that was launched earlier this year, and hopefully that will provide some input and stimulus also for your discussions. I'm sure most of you are somehow informed about the Industrial Alliance, so you know that it was launched with the strong backing of several commissioners as a policy initiative at the beginning of this year in February, with the first call to potential members to come forward and apply. And we were very surprised and very pleased with the high number of applications that we have received, over 300 that showed interest. And we went through a rigorous process of screening. And not only was it a good news that there was a very high number of applicants, but it was also good news that very few of the applicants actually did not pass the requirements in the terms of reference. So when we held the first General Assembly at the end of May, we had around 240 representatives in the room in Brussels, plus around 140 actually connected. And so you can see that there is a very strong following to the idea of the industrial alliance, and you can see here those who were attending in person in the biggest room that we could get actually in the conference center in Brussels. Now the objectives of the alliance have been set in the terms of reference as they were announced in the beginning of the year. The main objective is to facilitate and accelerate the development and demonstration and deployment of SMR projects in Europe by the early 2030s. So it's a very targeted, specific ambition of the Industrial Alliance to see in Europe by the early 2030s safely deployed SMRs in both power generation and non-power generation applications. It is clear that with such an objective, there are a number of determinants, number of factors that will influence, first of all, whether that ambitious timing can be met, but also whether indeed the deployment will be done safely in a way that will support the objectives of decarbonization as well as European industrial policy. If I can ask for the next slide, please. There you can see that we are around 200, almost 300 members of the Industrial Alliance, which means, as I was saying, that there was a very low number of applicants who would not satisfy the criteria. We were very pleased by the seriousness, the sincerity of the applications. And they come from a wide range of stakeholder groups associated with the nuclear sector, including civil society organizations and representatives of the public organizations. Of course, the bulk comes from SMR project developers, service providers, vendors, utilities, or manufacturers of components. It's an industrial alliance after all, but we know that there will be several determinants for the success of this alliance. Some are technological. They relate to the nature of the SMR technologies, and the alliance is focusing on 5 technologies, both in the small modular reactors, traditional, so light water reactors, but also advanced. And we have around 25 designs represented in the alliance. So I think technologically, we have what it takes to have the mass. Then obviously we need to see how the alliance will be able, or the members of the alliance will be able to scale the challenges of industrial supply chain, etc. But we know that there are also other prerequisites, and one of them is public acceptance. If SMRs are to be deployed in an economic way, we know that they will have to be deployed at large scale in order to meet the tight economic criteria of business justification or business case. And that will not be possible without broad public support, without people actually understanding how SMRs differ from traditional large-scale reactors, how they differ in their applications, how they differ in their operations. but at the same time receive all the assurances that they do not represent any compromise on the highest standards of safety that we are used to enjoy in Europe, that they rather, if anything, bring forward further the best practices in the nuclear sector that we would like to see, not only with respect to safety, but also with respect to security of supply, including front end, i.e. security of fuel, non-dependent supplies of fuel, non-dependent on unreliable partners, but also that they come with innovative solutions for the back end, for the decommissioning, for the disposal of nuclear waste. So if SMRs can actually convince the public about their added value in this regard, then obviously they have a chance to succeed. And it's important, therefore, to have the representatives of civil society represented in the industrial alliance in order to voice concerns, represent interests, etc. Next slide, please. This fully complies, this idea of also including civil society representatives fully complies with the principles of the industrial alliance, even though it's an industrial alliance. The terms of reference said clearly that it's an organization that must be characterized by its openness, by its transparency, by the diversity and inclusiveness of its membership and also of its activities. It is therefore quite logical that as the alliance, well, first of all, let me say that because the alliance is so focused on concrete outcome, it's not supposed to be a discussion club. It's supposed to be a targeted industrial effort that will aim at safe deployment of SMRs by 2030. Because it is such, it cannot be just a agora meeting of 300 members. It has to have a business structured along different aspects of the deployment and therefore reflected in specific working groups. And it has to have its work structured on the specific designs and projects and therefore along some project working groups. I will hand over to Andrei to give you more details on the technical working groups and the project working groups. But I will just already I will give a spoiler by saying that logically, because of what I said just now about the importance of public engagement, you will see that one of the technical working groups is actually dedicated specifically for that. But again, with apologies to Andrei for the spoiler, I hand over to him and he will now give you actually the full layout of the working groups.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jan. I hope that you can hear me well.
Yes, we can.
And yes, and I concur with the fact that I have to apologize not being in Porto Roche. I would have loved the weather in Brussels and Luxembourg is awful. So having said that, I will continue the presentation and think not before thanking to Moika and Meritzel for this invitation. As Jan said, this alliance is aiming, to promote projects. It's a project-based alliance. It's very important, and as you can see from the organization chart of the alliance, it's working on two folds: technical working groups and project working groups. I will give you some more information about this later on. One important thing, and Jan was mentioning the General Assembly. The first one was held at the beginning, at the end of May. We had we had already some meetings of the governing board. And we are also looking at organizing the first stakeholders forum, which is something that it's addressing not only to the members of the alliance, but also to the ones who are not members and maybe will become members later on. If we are going to the next slide, I will give you some more information about how these two folds, the technical working groups and the project working groups, will cooperate. As I was saying, project working groups are very important. The projects under the alliance with clear outcomes are very important, and the technical working groups are there to support the project working groups. Looking at policies, reflection and actions in several key areas. And in the next slide, you will see the the key areas that will be covered by technical working groups. And very important, nourish the project's feedback experience. So it will be a very strong cooperation between the technical working groups and the project working groups. Beside that, the technical working groups are also meant to disseminate the best practices across projects and directly interact with EU and national decision makers. And regarding the projects, they will be assisted under the alliance, and there will be other actions that we'll look at, like, for example, depending on the nature of the projects and the objectives, could fall under the different categories regarding financing, IPCIs, public-private partnership, or SRIA. Going to the next slide, I will give some more information about the technical working groups. We have 8 of them. The ones highlighted in green already had the kickoff meetings before the summer break. The other 4, so there were 4 before the summer break kicking off, and then we have in October the other 4. Among them is the technical working group 5, as Jan was mentioning, on public engagement, where the chair is Maricel, and I'm pretty sure that she will say some words about the vice chair. We have a vice chair coming from Synthos Green Energy. Going further, I can say some few words about projects. So here is the list of potential project working groups, and later on in the next slide you will see a timeline. The review of the submitted projects, it will be done, and we will have more information about it in October. So without getting more into this ongoing process, I will go to the last slide, which is regarding the timeline. As you can see, we had the first call of members for the alliance at the beginning of the year, just after the alliance was started. But I have to mention here that the application to become member of the alliance are still open. And then the projects, as I was mentioning, we had the submission of the projects at the end of June, and the process will end in October. And we are aiming to have the results to be discussed in the second governing board of the alliance, which will take place on 7th of October. 2 very important steps that were proposed in the terms of reference of the alliance are the technology roadmaps, which are supposed to be ready by the end of the year. And in the first quarter of 2025, we will have the strategic action plan of the alliance that will guide through the activity in the next years. And with this, I think that I finish my presentation. Thank you very much.